When you start building your body, your business, your daily process, you're taking aligned action towards your goals every single day, something happens internally. And you've most likely felt this before, guys. You're waking up earlier. You're spending more time alone. You're pressing through these pain barriers. You're sacrificing more. You're removing all of the low frequency people and habits from your life. You're subtracting and keeping everything so precise. Your life builds this level of sophistication, this simplicity where you've got this internal peace. You're moving with ease, And in this silence, in this peaceful state, you feel like you become guided, not by your impulse, not by motivation, not by some person on Instagram, not by your fears, but by this energy, but by this presence of knowingness, God, your conscience, the authentic voice of God. You can't hear that in the noise. But when you set your day up to go and attack your purpose and you're so disciplined and aligned with that process, you come close to God. I had a client very recently who'd been working with me a solid amount of time on building his brand. And he'd been living at home. He'd got to like 8K a month. And I said, bro, it's time to move away. Take yourself off to Thailand, live on your own, optimize this daily process, clean up the environment, remove everything. And he messaged me after like a week and he was like, Tom, I felt God, bro. And that gives me the goosebumps right now, because I don't like to preach this, guys, because if I said this to me 4 or 5 years ago, it would have felt strange receiving it if I weren't ready. But some of you guys are gonna know what I'm talking about. You're gonna have felt this, okay? And it comes when you're so optimized and you found that level of sophistication and stillness in your life. And that becomes a cheat code to building more external freedom, to building more internal peace. Money comes easy. You start magnetizing, you stop chasing. Relationships become filtered immaculately because you just have this intuition, this knowingness of who should be in the circle, who shouldn't be in the circle. Your decisions come from it's not even delusional, they just come from I know what the right thing to do is, because you can now hear your heart. You're not listening to this society programmed mind that's going to take you off down a route of fear to a life you don't want. It's a cheat code. And I want you to think about, imagine where you would be right now if every single day that feeling you felt maybe once, maybe a few times, maybe it's a thought you receive, a feeling that comes through your body, maybe it's goosebumps, maybe you hear it. God communicates with you. He doesn't speak to you. Talks about that in the book Conversations with God. One of the first lines in the book, as I remember. Now, imagine if you could feel that high energy, that knowingness, that clarity, that certainty on everything you need to do at all times. Right? Imagine where you would be if you knew with 100% clarity every day, and then you could just action everything you need to know. Not to create someone else's life, but to create your own authentic, highest self path to build the best body, the best business, the best life. Feel the way you should feel inside as well. The best relationships. Imagine how far you would be if you had that clarity of instruction from knowingness from God every day and you just action them. And that's exactly why, guys, in my own morning process, I developed something that I teach all my clients in my elite and my brand, something called consciousness calibration. You can actually get access to it in the description below, just that section, where effectively it allows you to generate that stillness and that clarity and that knowingness and exactly what you need to do every day and move as fast towards your goals as possible. I call it consciousness calibration. It consists of AM assumptions and AM alignment. Like I said, there will never be a day I never do this again. It's what's allowed me to go from where I were back when I was an engineer to here now, built 2 7-figure offers. I do exactly what I love for a living. I built in the most authentic way possible, helping hundreds, thousands of people, right? And not only that, I've got an immense amount of fulfillment, passion. I honestly feel like I'm like 1% into where I want to go now. I've seen clarity on where I want to go. And it just means I move forward every single day with knowingness, So I help guys, like when they follow the process I do every day, it's like it understands your assumption, it understands where is your North Star goal, who do you need to be, what's the life you want, what's the business, reverse engineering everything, all right, with immense clarity. But then finding that alignment part, you know, listening into your conscience, and that requires stillness. When guys follow through on this consciousness calibration process, you're not doing this in a room with music on, right? You're not doing this in a room with your girlfriend chatting to you. You're doing this on your own. You need stillness, right? You can only hear God. You can only hear your conscience in stillness. You might think you've heard it in the noise. That was your mind. We need to listen to our heart. You know, here on my arm, guys, follow your heart. Even this tattoo here. Your conscience is your gift from God. What you do with it is your gift to God. Walk boldly, act in faith. It's already done, right? That is the importance of listening inwards. Like everything I do is all about, like if you can take one thing away from this video, you have to listen inward and express outwards. You have to find the ability to communicate with God daily through this process that I teach here. Okay? And the gap then is, you remember this part, this quote? Your conscience is your gift from God. What you do with it is your gift to God. That means you better fucking take action, right? Every day you write down, what am I hearing? Maybe it's, Tom, I need to drop down to 8% body fat from 10%. Maybe it's, I need to grow my chest. Maybe it's, I remember the time when I was like, I need to get rid of sales calls. Sales calls are stupid in my business. And I heard that. Maybe it's, I need to move environment. Maybe it's, I need to step up in my relationship. Maybe it's, I need a new house, right? Maybe it's, I should spend less time with these people. Maybe it's, I should get more of this type of guys in my circle. I should start building my network. I should invest in myself. All of these things, your conscience is going to come at you with like a knowingness of, this is what I need to do, okay? There's no fear, there's no fog, it's just your heart. And the gap then is, hear your conscience, phase one. That's your gift from God. You've got to hear it. You've got to prioritize God. You've got to prioritize getting into silence every day so you can hear it. Write it down. Align to the path. You're going to hear everything you need to do, your next steps, right? You're going to hear your next mile to get you to that huge big picture you've got, right? When you're clear on the assumption, the alignment, okay, you might have 3 in the morning, you might have 2 in the morning, you might have 7 in the morning, okay? Your job then is you draw a line, what can I do to take action on that today? Not tomorrow, today, okay? Like I was saying to one of my clients earlier in the week, when I decided I was moving to this villa, I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning, I was in stillness, I was going through my alignment, and something in my heart was just like, it's time to upgrade. I messaged a real estate agent. I found a villa that was my style, you know, huge, big, white, luxury, modern villa. Place for my office, unreal outside, just unreal. Messaged them by 11 a.m. that day I was in. They were trying to get me to move in the week after. I was like, no, I've wired you the rent right now because I've still got your details from a different villa I'd lived in before. That's how I move. I'm like, I need to action my conscience so fast, okay? That's that process. Imagine where you would be if you had that clarity every single day and you actioned it every single day. Everything your heart knew you needed to do. This is what I urge you guys to do. Prioritize God, prioritize stillness, prioritize your routine. Like when I talk about guys and we're getting them in savage shape and we're building their business, and the habits are a frequency thing. The habits are a flow state thing. The habits are to get you in a frequency where you can hear your conscience. You know, 99.9% of the population are just in a fog of clusterfucked societal programming. You know, that's why they'd never heard it before. You have to come away from the norms if you want to get close. You can't think and operate like other people. And if you've not yet experienced what I'm talking about, this feeling, and you will fucking know. It's not a I think I have. You will know. If you haven't had that feeling, you're operating too much like a fucking normie, okay? Too much like a normie. So I urge you guys to find silence. And one other thing I want to mention, guys, is that one of the biggest problems I see with so many entrepreneurs is they experience this once. You know, this feeling and this knowingness, and they, they might not do it like I do and write the arrow every morning, but like they hear it and they're like, yeah, I'm going to take action on that. And they almost build too big an ego. And they take action on it, they see results, and then they fall back into a state of attack, more. They're like, more money, you should want more money, but your sole focus shouldn't be money, right? They go, more money, more calls, more clients, more this, and more women, more everything. And they just go, more. They wake up, they ignore this process, they ignore that silence that gave them the answers to get where they were going on their last win. And they start effectively building they go through a life and they silence their life and they get these answers. They take action, they get a win, and they build this stupid ego. They think they're above God. They might not have like consciously thought that, but that's what's going on subconsciously. They think they just know everything themselves, but they're going back to their mind. They're going back to their emotion. They're going back to impulse. They're going back to uncontrolled desires. Okay? And they just chase, right? And they build a life of noise again. They don't take that 20 minutes in the morning. They just think, fuck it, I'm getting straight into work. And guys, when you've done this silence in the morning for so long, by the way, you can just say, I'm going to get straight into work. And for a month, it can work immaculately, because you've still got that positive mind frame from here, from that previous work. But guess what, guys? After a month, after 2 months, after 3 months, it fades away because you've not prioritized it. You've lost that silence, and you can still have some of your fuel from before to continue that movement. But if you just rush into everything in the morning and then you stay up later and you're working more, you don't prioritize that walk alone, you don't prioritize that 30 minutes in the morning or in the evening alone, you're always hanging around people and you want to be flexing everything, and you just get caught up in all the noise and you think you've made it before you've made it. You lose that connection. You become subconsciously programmed by all of the noise again. All of a sudden, you're just surrounded by people 24/7, or if you're on your own, you're in work, but you've just got like endless lists of tasks to do. And you're inside. You need to take time to come outside. Okay? I don't care whether you're at 4 or 5 grand a month and you want to build your business and you want to build your life and you want to hit 50, 100 grand a month. I don't care if you're at 30 grand a month and you want to scale up again. Like, it doesn't matter what level you're at. Build your routine around you. Prioritize you. Okay? Prioritize being able to get here. Right? When you prioritize God, your conscience, when you prioritize your internal stillness, that hearing, and then you build the rest of your day after that around actioning everything you've heard there. So think about this from a calendar perspective. You've got 30 minutes. I'm going to listen inwards. The rest of your day, maybe from 5, 6 a.m. after you've done that, till maybe 3 p.m. might be just action everything you've seen there. And then go out and enjoy everything, come back into stillness. Maybe when you're out doing things you enjoy doing and you're in flow, maybe because you're outside again, you're going to receive new ideas. You're going to hear new things. Okay? This is how I want you to think about it. Imagine where you would be if you didn't have all this cluster and this noise and you just prioritized that stillness and acted on the exact knowingness, the exact instructions that are going to take you where you want to be. God's not in the noise, He's in the silence. Those who build a life that prioritizes silence every day, peace, simplicity, sophistication. You don't need to be running around like a headless chicken. You're getting further away from God. You need to get closer to God. I also want you to think about it like this. Every time your business scales, you should also feel like you're scaling internally. Here's the exact time you know when you're not near God. When you add more revenue to your business, you feel worse inside. Maybe not temporarily when you see that stripe come through and you fucking get all excited like a little gay fluff, right, who can't control his emotions and put so much fucking emotion on money, which is literally made up. It's just value. When you add more people to your business, when you build revenue and you feel more stress and your day has got worse, you're away from God. You should feel like the bigger you're growing in every area, you also grow here. That's when you've got alignment. That's when you're really building things how they should be built. Building things from truth, not just because everyone else does things that way. Now, that's why my business, guys, my coaching consultancy business, they're all run without ads. They're all run without sales calls. They're all run without cold outreach. They're all run without this cringy content. Because my conscience told me that. Everyone else is a fucking clone. They look at the whole industry and they go, everyone's making this gay content, I'm gonna do the same. Everyone's running ads and he's broke, I'm gonna do the same. Everyone's doing sales calls because that's how you close a client. For £300 a month, for 3K, for 5K. But I pay for holidays for 20K and just go tap. I don't need a sales call. No one needs a sales call. That's when you are listening to your mind. Your mind doesn't know. Your mind is programmed by society. Your heart knows. Everything I've built is built from my heart. Now, yes, I've gone and invested then in people who have done what my heart told me I need to do. You know, my heart told me I shouldn't operate like every fitness mindset business coach. My heart told me I should just become a master of building a real business and understanding market, understanding business at the highest level. That's why I went and invested people who are in completely different spaces, people who've done 100 mil, you know, people who are worth a bill. I've learned from and brought it back into this coaching consultancy space. And think about it. Something is happening when you buy everything you buy. I learned that at the highest level and I brought it back to what I do. All right? Because my heart told me. Could be anything. You know, I built my body in this way. I didn't, you know, my mind might have said go and look like a bodybuilder. My mind might have said go do hybrid like all of these copycats over here, you know, who just followed. I said no. I want to hypertrophy train. I want to build lean muscle mass. I want to build an elite frame where I'm respected, but I also need to be so mentally sharp. I need to look at my training volume. I need to look at my foods, my nutrient timing, because I want to be a high performer. I need to build my body to become my most competent self, my most competitive self that will win physically and mentally in all realms. And I built it my own way. So I've worked with some of the best mindset guys. I've worked with some of the best high performance, health, biohacking, and physique guys. And I've made my own. That's my elite entrepreneurial athlete system. You know, everything I've built is my own concoction of what my heart knew was right. Stillness. Prioritize your stillness. Get close to God. Don't push him out because of ego. Don't think you're doing good and you can manage it all on your own. When you just prioritize it, that 15 minutes a day, that 30 minutes a day, you're going to keep compounding it like a snowball. Otherwise, you'll reach this point of burnout and crash, and you lose yourself. And you lose clarity on what are you even here for? What are you doing? And you can feel like you're flying off amazing and you hit a crash. You know, my biggest piece of advice to all my clients, if they get to that point, you know, early on, like sometimes I've had guys, they come into the brand and they're caught up in just chasing. I'm like, well, stillness, optimize your routine. It's not just knowledge you need from me. It's you need to get a hold of yourself. You need to prioritize stillness and stop being programmed by all of society. Yeah? There's a time to go learn knowledge and invest in yourself and get someone to time collapse your journey. Your heart will tell you who that is and how to do that, right? But your heart knows the path, okay? Not your mind. Let's go.